patrons! I'm going to take you way back to 2008 to one of the first major commissions of my professional mosaic career. I had done a couple of small commissions before and finally got my website together when I got a call from an interior designer in the Bay Area. It wasn't for a client, but for herself. She and her husband were building their dream home in Mokuluas, Hawaii, and wanted me to make 2 mosaics for their home. Today I'm going to show you the making of Mokuluas, the Hawaiian art wall backsplash. This was a new build, so since it didn't exist yet, I received a PDF file with elevations from the architect. There were still some variables, so I believe this is the image I sketched up with red dots to let them know which measurements I needed to proceed. The client sent me these 2 images of the Mokuluas Islands. They are just around the cove from the new home they were building, but since they didn't have a view from their property, they wanted this mosaic to bring the islands into their home. The client and I knew we wanted it to be slightly stylized, yet realistic, so I started first by showing her an idea I had for the clouds, a motif that would carry through to the ocean waves. Then I sketched the ocean waves. Again, the kitchen wasn't built yet, so I put the measurements into a CAD program to create a layout to make sure the client understood the perspective. Then the client decided she wanted some palm leaves to frame the mosaic. There was also some talk at this time about adding a turtle. I believe I made some sketches with a turtle, but really felt it took away from the elegance of the design. Then the builder sent me updated measurements, making the proportions slightly squarer. This was the final design thrown into the CAD layout. The next step was to show the client the palette of glass I would use for the mosaic. I ordered samples of every color from a few different glass lines and pared them down to this. I spent a lot of time finding the perfect combos, so I remember being thrilled that the client immediately approved the glass. Next, I laid out the shifts of watercolor on the design as well as the backer board I would be working on. It would be easy with a free-flowing, wavy design to get crooked or carried away with one color and not leave enough room for all the transitions. Then it was time to begin the construction. I started with the palm fronds, then the stylized clouds, and then the pebble islands filled in by gold-streaked glass to make sure they still catch the light. I need to leave some pieces of glass unattached so the panels can be screwed into the wall with washers, so as I'm working, the blue tape is to hold them in place. I took some pictures for the client without the painter's tape. Now onto the water. I worked from both the top and the bottom to make sure the colors and intensity of the waves would come together properly. Also as a note, I used white silicone for this project. I wanted it to be waterproof because it will be in a kitchen in a humid climate. Also, much of the glass is translucent, so using a white adhesive makes the glass bright and shiny. I cut the mosaic into dozens of pieces and shipped the mosaic to Hawaii. The builder sent me these pictures before lighting was installed in the home. The next year I went to Hawaii to grout the mosaic. I was busy working the whole time, but here are a couple pictures of the home and property I managed to take. And a couple pics the homeowner took of me working. And finally the mosaic was finished. This was right before inexpensive cameras and phone cameras started getting really good, so the pictures don't quite show the movement of the mosaic. When you're in the room, because of all the shine and iridescence, the water appears to move, and the homeowner even reported that the colors changed throughout the day. Thank you for taking this trip back in time with me.